Hey, thanks for tuning in. So, we at Qonic have been hard at work creating a set of direct modeling tools in the Qonic platform. I thought it was a good moment to give you a little demonstration of some of these tools in action. So here I'm building a little pavilion from the ground up using nothing but Qonic's direct modeling tools. I've slightly sped up the modeling process so as not to bore you, but aside from that, you're getting the unedited footage. So I've started from a simple box, created a second box here, added some slanted sides, and added some edges to the corner, some rounded corners to create kind of an interesting shape for the basis for our platform, for our pavilion. So after adding some side faces here as well, let's take a look at the facades. So we're going to create some glass facades, some curtain walls along these three faces of the building. So I'll just start off with creating a little frame here by creating an offset and extruding the geometry from that original geometry. I'll add some material already, so some black aluminium, so we can already see kind of the outline of these curtain walls. Now for the actual shape of the curtain wall, we're going to use some randomly placed lines in different directions to create kind of a dynamic shape of how these members and plates are going to interact. So we're using chalk curves for this. It's just a sketching tool, 2D sketching tool, to create an outline, and now we're going to basically slice this object up into its individual pieces based on these outlines of these chalk curves. Now let's add some offsets to basically create the shape of our frames themselves, to give the frames a thickness. So we'll add an offset of 5 centimeters and basically push out the remaining geometry so we have the basic shape of our frame with all of these members in different directions. All right, so that's starting to look good. Let's just union this together with the original frame so we have one single black frame on the back side here. Now, just for to make it a bit easier and faster, I'll just reuse the same pattern across these two other curtain walls. So I'll copy them over and just basically cut away the remaining parts of this curtain wall. Let's finally, again, union these parts together with the original frames. And now let's add some glazing as well by simply adding a box which encompasses the entire curtain wall, giving a thickness and applying a certain material. So I'll copy this over to the other parts as well. And then finally, again, cut out irrelevant parts of this glass by using the aluminum frames as our reference. Now finally, let's actually create curtain wall assemblies out of these objects so we can properly work with this in a quantity takeoff and so on. All right, so let's add some doors as well. That's a good idea. Okay, so that's the basic shape of our curtain walls. Let's take a look at the actual shell of the building. So we'll make some final adjustments here as to how these shells interact. And now let's actually start slicing these shells up into relevant parts. So we want to have a separate floor slab, maybe some separate roof objects and wall objects. Again, for quantity takeoff and planning and so on, it's easier to split these things up if you want that. So for this, I'm kind of temporarily adding a little auxiliary object here, a cube, to help me find the correct slicing plane. And I'm snapping to the correct locations where I want to slice. Same goes for these kind of corners here. I want to slice these up separate from the walls. And again, I'm using a sort of temporary objects, this cube, to find the correct angle to snap to and to slice along. Okay, so now everything is properly sliced up. Let's add some BIM data. So we'll make sure the objects have the correct IFC classifications like roof, wall, slab, and so on. Again, just to take this model further downstream for other processes like quantity takeoff and planning. We can also, of course, also add some more properties as well, or add some more details, like in this case, adding some material layers to the inside of our building. So I'm adding an insulation layer here to some of these walls, using the specialized add layer tool, which kind of will detect the boundary of where to apply this layer to, in this case, between the curtain walls. And we can do this for the rest of the walls here as well. Also a bit on this interior tunnel. Okay, let's finish this up, this insulation here, by clicking all the different walls. And finally, let's add some finish layers as well. So we'll add a floor finishing and some plaster. So let's start with a floor finishing here of 2 centimeters, a hardwood floor, and add some white plaster along the walls and ceilings as well, both on the larger and the smaller shell. We also want to add some plaster here on the outside of this tunnel up until the curtain wall, and to finish off a little cap at the end, a wall cap. We allow this kind of modeling of individual wall layers for really accurate quantity takeoff and planning as well. So here we have already an overview of the areas and the volumes of the different materials that we are using. Looks like I forgot something. I forgot to actually apply the concrete material to the shell. So let's do that now. So let's add some concrete material to the entire outer shell. So these material libraries are customizable, of course. You can reuse existing libraries or create your own. So finally, we have a full overview of the total area and volume of different materials with some visual feedback, as indicated in blue here. And maybe let's create a little box section here to look at the detail of how these different objects come together and whether these materials are properly connected. So that looks good. We can add some temporary color override to very clearly distinguish different materials. And finally, let's create some very simple measurements here to have an idea of how large is this door or window. Can we actually walk everywhere inside this building? So that was a very quick overview of some of the modeling tools in Qonic. It's just a very simple example. Of course, Qonic has a lot more to offer aside from modeling. But yeah, be sure to check out our website to find out more. Thanks for watching. Bye.